it's like I feel like Moffat is like an emotionally abusive, gaslighting boyfriend, and I'm his poor downtrodden bird. And he's constantly he's like telling me he loves me one day and then ghosting me the next day, and he's the fuck boy. but I love him.
Oh,
he treats me like shit, but I love him.
Stephen Moffat is definitely the fuck boy of Doctor. Hi there and welcome to Two Reels Podcast. I'm your host Liam Reedy and today I'm with Harry Harding and we're talking about Matt Smith's second outing as the Doctor in Series 6 of Doctor Who. Before we get into the podcast, just want to say thank you for giving us a download, a little listening to at least one of our podcasts. If you like what you hear, give us a like on Facebook, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at Two Reels Podcast, whichever socials you use. Swift.
So Liam, you'll notice I happen to be wearing a Two Reels Podcast official T-shirt.
Yes, I do notice this.
Yeah, it's lovely. There's so soft, such soft material.
I didn't realise we were going to start off doing a radio play.
So I mean, if so, it's available for just £22 at shop2reels.com. If you want to, if you want to be more like us, look more like us, embody everything that we are, and represent.
I mean, the shop is something that we've been talking about doing T-shirts and stuff for ages.
Yeah. But it's not just T-shirts, is it?
It's not
tell
just
them,
T-shirts.
Tell them what else they can get, Liam.
What else you can get? A tote bag. Porcelain mug, unisex t-shirt, unisex crew neck sweatshirt, premium tee, classic pullover hoodie. And that's not all. Women's premium hoodie, women's comfort shirt, premium pullover hoodie, and essential t-shirt. And that's all.
But anyway, we should probably get on with the thing that we came here to talk about.
Yeah. Maybe we should do that.
Maybe.
Yeah. So let's talk Doctor Who once again. Season 6 this time. Season 6.
Yes.
Say 6.
Yes. Yeah. Season 6. Yes.
The second of Matt Smith's 10 years as Doctor. And I mean, we really loved the last series just gone. I feel like it was probably our most positive one on Doctor Who to date.
It was, yeah. It was the Series 1 podcast, I think, was quite positive.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think Series 5 one was our most kind. Say,
well,
in terms of reviews.
I mean, it wasn't kind because we were like forcing it to be kind. It was kind because
deserved.
It was great. So
yeah,
well deserved. If our neighbours could stop fucking banging upstairs, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Because that's just annoying as shit. Won't be having this in the house. Yeah. Does the curve continue to go upwards in an upwards trajectory from 5 to 6?
Interesting.
First initial reactions.
For me, 5. It's just a constant upwards trajectory with no blip.
No.
And then 6 kind of goes. It continues to go up, but in a more zigzag formation.
Yeah.
It's still rising, but not in this nice smooth straight line, linear line. More of a sort of scribble all over the mat.
Wibbly wobbly all over the graph.
Yeah.
It
Gets you from A to B, but not in a line, in a
nice smooth upwards curve. No, not so much.
Like a spider that's just crawled over an ink pot and across a page.
Oh wow. Not what I thought you'd say. Well, it is what I thought you'd say, but just not quite the.
It's I think Series 6 is still overall pretty good. It's not the best. Do you know what? It's a hard one, Liam, because I wouldn't say that Series 6 takes a dip in quality.
No.
But it's just it feels like a completely different beast, and it's in many ways it's superior to 5 in like production value and scale, and sort of worldwide reach with the sort of the quite obvious and very unsubtle pandering to an American audience.
Exactly what I was going to say.
But it's still very convoluted, it's very complicated, and unlike Series 5 and 4 to an extent, 6 is a more hit and miss for me. It has great episodes and it has not so great episodes, and the overall story arc as well is all over the place. Absolutely. Just completely and utterly
just a mess.
A mess, yeah.
Really isn't much way else you can say it, really.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this just before we did the podcast, or just before you actually said, should we do it? Should we record today? I was actually thinking about it because obviously I knew we were going to do it soon. But I just thought to myself, with the first episode and the finale and a few things in between, do you know what? I feel like I'd probably need another watch to kind of get my head around it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been out for, 10 years? 11 years, 12 years. 11 years. Yeah. So I shouldn't need to rewatch it, seeing as I've rewatched it quite a few times, season 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought to myself, I probably just need to have a bit of a recap somewhere.
Well, I mean, I must admit, I watched a couple of YouTube tutorials, specifically about this series. I watched like
I mean, like recaps, and don't really need a tutorial.
Well, no, sorry, that's what I meant. Not like
you're not making a bench.
Yeah.
It's as complicated as someone who doesn't know how to make tutorial.
A bench. No, I meant
making a bench.
Yeah, I meant like a review, a recap, as you say. Yeah. I watched one about the series as a whole, just like what's it about, and then I watched another one that was just about River.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I'm still none the wiser.
You're no closer to understanding.
And I consider myself to be a massive Whovian. And someone who is, I would say above average when it comes to, knowledge of Doctor Who, in that I do possess a lot of useless trivia about a particular show, more than your average person who's, I like Doctor Who. Kind of thing, and even I still can't really get my head around it. So that's I think that says it all. Or maybe I'm just thick as shit. That could also be quite possible.
I don't know. I think that we've discussed this a few times on this podcast so far. That Moffat loves the convolution. He loves overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, it's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It should be complicated.
Yeah.
When actually, it could be just good storytelling.
Yeah.
There is just a lot of extra when it comes to. It sounds like I'm shooting it down completely.
Yeah.
It does just mean that I think that, you know, if I was to kind of show it to someone who's A, not a fan, or B, like quite a, you know, casual fan, if I was to say you should rewatch it, I don't feel like they'd be any more clued up on Doctor Who finer plot points by rewatching it, because it's still quite a bit of a kind of a something that just really needs untangling a little bit to be a more coherent story.
Well, I won't say how or why or when or where or who.
Okay.
But I do possess some inside knowledge about Moffat and his tenure as showrunner and how he works. And the impression I got was it very much is, you know, that gif of Charlie from
Always Sunny,
where he's like he's got the board with the string and all the
Pepe
paper.
Sylvia, is it? Like, it's just like, he doesn't exist, and it's like Max just like, yes, he does exist.
Yeah.
He's up on like the 5th floor. He's been wanting his mail for days.
I very much get the impression that it's like that with Moffat. He has all these wonderful, crazy, brilliant ideas, but doesn't really have a way of sort of stringing them together in a coherent, simplistic,
Doctor Who storyline.
yeah.
What you're looking for, really.
And so I do, and so yeah, and I think that is very prevalent in this series. And I must admit, I stole this observation from someone else, a YouTuber. But someone else said that the reason they think Series 5 worked so well is because Moffat used a more of a Russell T Davies template for a series, and we observed that in our last podcast.
We did, yeah.
Whereas in this, it's almost like he's thrown the template out the window and he's gone like full Moffat. And I think by doing that, I think by not using the template of a New Who series, that's where it's gone wrong and it's got complicated and things have not felt smooth.
Yeah, smooth, or I mean, not to keep saying the same word, but yeah, coherency is like the thing that is kind of missing from certain aspects of the series.
Yeah.
Mainly the beginning and end.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. Yeah, because watching the Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, and then the finales, the wedding of River Song, it's just yeah. There's a lot to unpack, and I'm not quite sure we can cover it all.
Well, before we jump in with those,
yeah.
I just want to do a special mention / shout out to the Christmas special.
Yeah, a Christmas Carol
in between 5 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we missed it off the last podcast.
Well, I can't remember whether we include the Christmas special as the start of a new series or the end of an old series. I can't remember how we formatted it on the podcast previously.
Well, on Wikipedia, it basically has the Christmas episode as the first episode. Of that
so this would be the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I just want to sort of slice, because I feel like this story gets forgotten about, and also I have to admit, as much as I love this era and Moffat, his Christmas specials aren't that memorable.
No.
There's no patch on the how huge of an event the Doctor Who Christmas special used to be in the Russell era, and his Christmas stories, they're not that memorable or great. I feel like perhaps he didn't have quite the same sort of regard for the Christmas special. He just thought, oh, I just need to write a decent story that has something to do with Christmas. But this story, I feel like, is really, really good and underrated. I think I've said before that this was my favourite Christmas special. And it's just a beautiful story. I mean, it sort of has a villain, but not really. It doesn't really have a monster.
No.
There is a sort of threat, but the threat is just this crashing ship that Amy and Rory happen to be honeymooning on. Other than the fact that this ship's going to crash, there's no like massive, huge, universal threat like reality bomb or whatever, the Pandorica.
Yeah.
It's just the ship's going to crash, and the only way it can be saved is by this one character becoming, sort of becoming a good person, I guess, discovering kindness or whatever.
Love is always the answer.
It does get a bit like that, but I feel like that is done in a very subtle, understated way. They, rather than them actually saying, we must use love to. It's done.
You've got to find love in your heart again, Kazran.
But the way this is done, it's so clever. The way the romance is built up between is it Kazran?
Yeah, Kazran.
And I can't remember her name now.
Abigail.
Yeah, Catherine Jenkins. The way the romance is built up, over time, and I really like the fact that time travel is used in this story, like direct time travel. I think we spoke in the last podcast about how for a show about traveling in space and time, there's not actually a lot of
time travel,
direct time travel. Whereas there is in this, and I just think all of that is really cleverly done. It's really moving and beautifully told, and also it very cleverly for me adapts. Not only adapts, but adapts and sort of refreshes and renews the story of A Christmas Carol. I mean, he could have very easily made Kazran Scrooge and set it in Victorian times or something, but it's sort of it's like it is A Christmas Carol, but it's not. There's no ghosts. It's sort of the Doctor becomes the ghost of Christmas past.
He is, yeah,
present and future.
They only use like a mild threat of like sky sharks.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the bits that I'm a little bit.
The sky sharks are a bit schlocky.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I can forgive it.
Skyfish is like very schlocky.
Yeah.
And just saying that there's like vapor in the air or something is, I mean.
But it's not.
It's
meant
totally on board.
It's not meant
for
to be
Doctor
Earth.
Who,
it's not Earth.
No, yeah,
so,
you're right.
Again, that's another thing I like.
There's schlockier stuff in that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more serious stuff.
It's just it's only it's just I guess what I'm saying is, if it's Christmas and you think, I fancy sticking on a Doctor Who Christmas special,
this would be the first one.
Rather than going for the predictable choice of Voyage of the Damned, stick this on. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's a beautiful little story on its own. Has no connection.
Much better than Voyage of the Damned.
Oh, I think so, but I know that's a lot of people's go-to.
Just because Kylie's in it.
Yeah. But
and it's about the Titanic.
It's got no connection to the rest of the series, so it doesn't follow on for Series 5, nor does it kick off Series 6. You can watch it any time.
Yeah, it does feel like a good self-contained... exactly. I know because Rory and Amy are in it, it puts itself somewhere in a timeline, but obviously it has to. But like, just having it, just watching it, you're not like, oh yeah, this feels very like between this and that. Doesn't really at all.
Yeah.
It feels quite clean.
Yeah.
And I like it. I'm surpringly I agree with you that I probably it's probably my favourite.
Yeah.
Especially on this rewatch, because we're at the point now where we're going through old Doctor Who. Well, I say old, but like the newest
10 years
iteration of Doctor Who, and so we've got a pile of what I've rewatched recently, and how I feel about that.
Yeah.
And I've also got a pile of what I haven't rewatched recently, and kind of not knowing how I feel about that because of what's what's come before. So, you know, I'm glad we're going through it, but it's changed. It hasn't changed my opinion like a ton, but there's some things that have manoeuvred around, I think.
Yeah, same.
And
yeah.
Only really overall for the better. I mean, I'm noticing more things that I didn't before, and putting my opinion straight, I guess. And then there's other things that I'm just like, oh, that's a lot better than I remember.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's all quite positive.
Yeah.
In a way. But yeah, this was definitely one of those where it was a good Christmas. It's a great Christmas episode, and you know, you're right. Moffat hasn't got a reputation for pulling a great Christmas cracker.
Nice.
But this I feel probably gets overlooked, and you know, as we've said, it's our favourite. So
yeah.
Shout out to that episode, because you know we didn't do it last time,
and it was his first.
Yeah,
I've just realised, so it was it was his first ever Christmas special, and I thought it was it was brilliant, and also, and now I think about it, I mean, what was the Christmas special before that was the End of Time, so you know, which I know,
I mean,
I've slated that hugely, but at the time that was, you know, probably one of the most popular and most viewed Christmas specials of Doctor Who.
Obviously.
So this,
I mean, it wasn't really
had to follow that.
Was it really necessarily a Christmas special? It's like in the specials. I don't really.
Well, it aired on Christmas Day and Boxing
I know.
Day, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with Christmas.
Not
no.
really. No. I mean, yeah.
It didn't have like robot Santa Claus, who, you know, like every other Russ T Davies Christmas special has.
Oh well, didn't they? Isn't there a bit where Wilf sees them? Am I just making it up?
Oh God! Well, there probably is.
Let's not go. We've done. We've done David Tennant's episodes. Let's just leave it in the past.
Yeah. Right. So
with this series, you know, like you said, the pandering to the American audience is very prevalent.
Mm.
I think the next two series are this one.
Yeah.
And the next series.
Yeah.
Which, when I watched probably like a pre-series, like little web episode, Moffat described as like each episode is like a movie. That's the next series, so I'm talking season 7.
Right, yeah.
So it's this series, which is like we're gonna go to Utah, and you know, we're gonna involve the moon landings in 1969, and you know, all the hallmarks of America from the perspective of a British writer.
Yeah.
As well as River uses a revolver, even though she comes directly from the future.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
Is like, okay. But anyway, so we don't know any of that. So to start off with, obviously the first episode is The Impossible Astronaut.
Yeah.
Where Amy, Rory and River receive invitations to meet the Doctor at Lake Silencio.
That's correct.
Right, okay. Bit on the nose, but again, it's Doctor Who. Yeah, and I think... Yeah. The initial episode had me intrigued.
Yeah.
But as time went on, that intrigue waned.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated one.
This is a prime example of Doctor Who writing, where they want to build mystery.
Yeah.
But as normal people, they would just talk to each other. It had the very much, you know, like in sitcoms, where every situation in sitcoms, if you think about it, could just be resolved by talking
Yeah.
like normal people.
Yeah.
But they don't do it because there's no tension, there's no drama.
Yeah.
But this was very much like that. When on the rewatch, I was like, just fucking tell them some exposition.
Yeah.
You know, just say something that means something. It's not just you going rounds in circles, trying not to give anything away. You know. And after a while, I just got a little bit infuriated.
Yeah, I mean, the plot seems again. It's. I mean, I guess in a way, it's kind of a perfect season opener for this series because this story. I mean, I know it's 2 separate episodes, but it's basically one story.
Yeah.
It introduces a hell of a lot of plot threads all at the same time, and they're sort of seemingly connected. And it's quite a lot to sort of take in all at once. You've got the girl in the mysterious young girl in the astronaut suit, and you've got them going back in time to the 60s and meeting Nixon, and then you've got the obviously the silence. Who are they? You've got obviously got the doctor getting shot on the beach. You've got the envelopes that are obviously sent by the doctor, but the characters don't know that. And then, you know, the doctor gets shot, but then he immediately turns up in the next scene. He's like, oh well, this is a past version of me. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And like you said, but there's some really interesting ideas here and setups, like the silence, another great original monster from Moffat.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Such a fantastic idea of having.
Yeah.
If you're not looking at it, you
forget it.
Existence.
I mean, their design is a bit. I don't know. It's a bit schlocky. I don't like the suits.
It's very schlocky. Do you know what it is? He's basically just gone every alien design head.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, schlocky alien design head.
Yeah.
In a suit, you know, like a thin 60s
Yeah.
suit, like,
I mean,
like the FBI would wear.
They're scary
CIA.
looking.
Yeah.
Why are they in Earth
Suits.
Why wouldn't they be in like alien suits or just you know, a plane? I don't know, but I'm being pedantic or whatever the word is, nitpicky. But you know, he is. I mean, you know, the clockwork. I don't know what they're called, but the clockwork creatures from Girl in the Fireplace. And
yeah, they're just repair droids, aren't they?
but they're great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Obviously the Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
And now we've got the Silence. So he does create some banging new villains that I think, you know, hold their
Top
own
tier.
with the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master. So they're great, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and yeah, I mean, I won't get into it now because we can talk about it at the end, I guess. But yeah, the whole astronaut Lake Silencio killing the Doctor thing. I mean, God, that is schlocky. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, why? Like, what I don't understand. And this isn't anything to do with who the person is inside the suit, because that doesn't seem to be to matter. What I don't understand is why put that person, whom we shall reveal later, why put them in an astronaut suit and have them come out of a lake and shoot the Doctor with a gun?
It's not even with a gun.
Or what is it then? Like
It just something comes out of her hand. That the beam comes out of her hand. It's in the suit.
It's in the suit.
Yeah, like you don't see it.
So it doesn't come
it's just
from
like a beam.
the person inside directly. It comes from the suit.
Yeah.
Right. Why?
Yeah. And obviously she's like, I can't stop it. It's the suit. And I'm like, well, why have someone in it? If it's just a
Exactly.
suit?
Why?
This is the bit that I was racking my brain earlier.
I mean, why don't you just fly a ship down and just shoot him from that? Or I don't. Why? Why do you need to have someone come out of the water in an astronaut suit and shoot the Doctor using the suit?
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense to me.
No. Me neither.
But there's more to obviously to this as we get on later, which also doesn't make sense to me. But and also as well, I obviously I know that we didn't know this at the time because Moffat probably hadn't thought about it yet. But we established later that the Doctor is his grave is on Trenzalore, right? So the Doctor knows that. He/she has always known that. That's where the Doctor's buried. It doesn't matter. The Doctor could go on and on and on and on and have another 20 regenerations.
Yeah.
But eventually, that's where the Doctor will be buried. So surely the Doctor knows that that this isn't that this isn't his death.
You'd think so.
And it's all like, oh, this is a fixed point in time, like Lake Silencio, 2011.
Yeah.
And it's but the Doctor's thinking, how can that be? The Doctor doesn't die in 2011, Lake Silencio. The Doctor knows that that there's future versions of himself. So I don't know.
I feel like Moffat just. I feel like he just opened too many can of worms too early.
I just don't like that whole, oh, the Doctor's going to die and there's like a false regeneration thing, because that obviously that's going to get reversed or resolved.
I feel like they need to, even at that time, they needed to move away from the fake out.
The fake out, yeah.
Honestly, there's a fake out almost every series, and you're just like, well, if it's every series and it's a fake out, it just gets pathetic after.
It's not gonna.
It just gets so mundane when you're like, oh yeah, right, it's fire shooting out of his hands.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Still gonna be Matt Smith though.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not interested as to see how they get out of it, because they did one of the best ones with David Tennant.
Yeah.
Where he shoots it into a part of himself.
Yeah.
And a second one emerges.
Yeah, I mean,
nothing's going to top that.
That was a bit cop-out-y, but at the same time, like you say, they've done it now.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And we can't. The wool will no longer be pulled over our eyes.
That's the thing. Yeah, it was a cop-out of a regeneration, but also Russell T Davies made it make sense in terms of what story he was going to tell.
Yeah.
Whereas with these ones, especially with Matt Smith at the first episode, Lake Silencio, bit, you were just like, oh, we got the whole rest of the season, and I've seen a trailer for the whole series, and he's in it. Once again, BBC ruining it with next week and trailers. Yeah. The biggest culprits before trailers were spoilers, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like, because this started in 2005, I feel like we were still in cinemas, still watching trailers and being like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
That's not a
spoiler. Do you remember how exciting that was?
Doctor Who next week, it'd be like, oh, the Daleks are in this one.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Cybermen return this week. Oh, spoilers everywhere.
Well, anyway. The Daleks are notably absent from this series, which I've got to say, I think is refreshing.
Oh, yeah,
So
it's good.
At this point, they were so overused, and their appearance in Series 5... was the low point of the series.
I mean, I think that was probably in reaction to that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because after this point, what I'll just call the mod Daleks.
Yeah, the Skittles Daleks.
Yeah, the Skittles. Yeah, Skittles Daleks. They kind of are in the background.
Disappear.
Yeah, they do really.
Yeah.
But yeah, these first two episodes, because it's one story, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, the silence are good. I feel like it's just trying to do too much.
Yeah.
You listed off a point and the number of points that happen in the first episode, and I thought to myself, oh, some of that sounds really good. If only they hadn't crammed in everything else.
Yeah.
You know, just to make it a little bit smoother. And yeah, I feel like it was trying to come out the gates very quick. It was trying to come out the gates with like a wow factor.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really happen. Didn't really pull it off.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. Maybe that's the American thing. Maybe he was like, oh well, the BBC really want this series opener to be set in America, so I'm gonna have to write a story that's based in around the American desert and features the CIA and President Nixon and stuff.
He went all in on that, much so that it
All of
became
that seems
cheesy.
so irrelevant.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We've got the astronaut, we've got the silence. Could have set it on a spaceship or a village in England. But instead we've got this complicated plot about the 60s and the moon launch and the CIA and Nixon and the astronaut, and then they go to there's an orphanage where they go with a little girl, they investigate about the girl and the orphanage, and
I quite like that segment, but because it was shoehorned into everything else that was going on,
yeah,
I was just like, oh, this is,
I guess, yeah,
going a bit too, I don't even want to say going a bit too far, because it's Doctor Who.
Yeah,
like that's such a moot statement.
Yeah,
but
yeah. The other thing as well is quite a few people who I've had conversations with / heated debates about Doctor Who, and these are big, like Russell T Davies, David Tennant heads who think that era was like the peak of Doctor Who, and then they're like, oh yeah, I really like Matt Smith, obviously because he was like young and hot. But oh yeah, I really like Matt Smith, but the story, the plots and the plot lines and the story started to get a bit too complicated, and I found it hard to follow, and then by the time Peter Capaldi came along, I was just completely put off Doctor Who, and I haven't watched it since. I know a lot of people who that sort of happened to, that had that same journey, and as much as it frustrates me, because I completely disagree, I think the Moffat era was the peak of Doctor Who. I can understand that happening because of stories like this.
Yeah,
I can totally understand people being like, I have no fucking clue what's happening here, and it puts them off.
Yeah, I've definitely had similar conversations with people who are just completely on the side of David Tennant.
Yeah. And annoyingly, when they use this as their argument, oh, but the Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi era was too complicated and hard to follow, it's difficult to argue with them.
Yeah.
Because
except for when talking about Series 5.
Yeah.
We, as much as we talked about the Pandorica being like quite a similar vein of complexity unnecessarily.
Yeah.
The rest of it is very much like just great Doctor Who storytelling.
Yeah, you're right. But there's a line in the problem with the Moffat era is there's this like I don't what it is, like a barometer or whatever. There's a line between cleverly complex and overly convoluted, and at times it's constantly shifting.
It is constantly
so
shifting.
So like the series, the Pandorica opens and the Big Bang was cleverly complex.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas stories like this, cross the line into overly convoluted, and unfortunately, I guess for a lot of people who criticise the Moffat era, they can't see the difference. It's all just too complicated.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah, I get it as well. And, after the first 2 episodes of this series, I was ready to get on to what's next, Yeah. I was ready to get to the next episode where they're not in this story.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I obviously knew that it would come back around by the end of the series.
Yeah.
So I was more like relieved to get the first 2 episodes out of the way. And then I was like, right, let's get to some other action. Can
slightly relax the brain a bit.
Like Curse of the Black Spot or the Rebel Flesh story. I was like, let's get to that stuff. Yeah. Because that's more like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we can overstate this or say this too much, but yeah, Stephen Moffat is good at the stories. He's not good at the show running.
Yeah.
Because the overarching story is always just that little bit disappointing. In this, quite a bit disappointing. But the stories, his kind of guidance of the others, you know, and his contained stories,
Yeah.
is good. But yeah, that's the first two episodes. Again, yeah, just a lot in it, a lot to unpack, and then you're not really quite sure how to feel about it, other than a bit confused, in my opinion.
Indeed.
Are we gonna go through the episodes, don't we? Again, I'm very.
We can do. I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we can do a nice little recap and then say our.
Yeah.
We do a favourite and then we do a least favourite, don't we?
Well, at the end we do favourites, and then we do what we think are the best and the worst.
Right.
Episodes.
Cool. Yeah. Got you. Yeah.
And then of an honourable mention.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, well, yeah. So let's move on. So yeah. Well, I'm Curse of Black Spot is it's a decent historical.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I've got some problems with it.
Oh God. Okay.
But yeah. When we were watching it, I was enjoying the episode. Really, up until the point where they're on the ship. I don't mean pirate ship.
The spaceship,
because
yeah,
it all takes place on a pirate ship. Yeah, on the spaceship. Where I was then just like, oh, okay, didn't really like that. Just not a fan of how they, you know, were like, oh, they're on this pirate ship the whole time.
Yeah,
and it's quite, you know, I like episode. I wouldn't say it was a base under siege, is it? It's like, but it is all in one place. It all takes place on the pirate ship up until that point.
Yeah,
and I was like, that is another good thing about Doctor Who sometimes, is where it's like enclosed space, quite like a personal story.
Yeah,
you can't really escape the monster, you know, because you're all in one place. And then they're like, oh, but you know, it came on a spaceship and it's just a nurse. And
yeah, I like the nurse thing. I mean, because sometimes it's always difficult to take a historical setting and a pre-existing concept such as like sirens or mermaids or whatever, and change them and make them into like sci-fi with a sort of supernatural alien twist. So yeah, the nurse thing, I didn't mind the nurse thing.
Actually, I'll say this: I didn't mind the nurse thing until I really, the one bit that actually gets me about the episode is when they just fly off. It's like, oh, I'm a ship captain, so I know how to use the ship.
Yeah.
The pirate, the main character, what's his name?
Oh, it's
Henry
Hugh Bonneville.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, of course I know how to use a ship, any ship.
Yeah.
But it's like a spaceship. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it just really, the ending just really didn't stick it for me. Whereas I was really enjoying the rest of the
ship
episode.
on like automatic pilot? So he's just he literally
like grabs the controls and like just flies away.
Well, I'm not going to criticize this episode too much for reasons I'll reveal later. But yeah, I really like pirates.
Okay.
So pirates are cool.
Yeah.
So
again, the rest of it, I was like really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just slate the whole episode. I'm just saying that the story as it was progressing, I just feel like it just didn't stick the landing with me.
Yeah. But I mean, it's by no means. I don't think it's It's like the worst historical.
No.
By a lot. And it's also one of those episodes where, if I happened to catch it on TV, I would happily sit and watch it. But it's not too. And it's nice that they decided to put this episode at number 3 after the Day of the Moon, because it's a nice, as you said, it's a nice relief having an episode like this.
Oh yeah,
with a nice, simple, non-complicated plot.
Yep. it gets to, you know, it gets to the monster, and it gets to the you know, the threat, and
Yeah.
it gets to the you know, it gets to the stakes quite easily, and then you know, by the end of it, it is all wrapped up nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just kind of what you're expecting from Doctor Who. Again, is pretty much like it's more like a balm for what the last two episodes were.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I enjoyed the episode just up until the end, and then I was a little bit like, that really didn't work out for me, or just just thought it just missed the mark a little bit in terms of the ending. But that's just me personally, I guess. But
then we move on to the Doctor's wife. Now that is a banger.
That is,
if I do say so myself,
undoubtedly a banger. Yeah. Great episode.
It's a brilliant episode. I mean, really clever idea, bringing the TARDIS to life. Saran Jones is excellent.
Yep.
I mean, she would have been a great Doctor.
Oh yeah,
She's another one who I think would have. Also, seeing her sort of quirky, eccentric performance as the TARDIS, I just think, oh god, that's perfect Doctor.
Material,
there.
Genuinely, yeah.
She would have been great, but she's great.
If you hadn't seen her already on the planet or the place where they are, you know, like it's basically like a junkyard, isn't it? Where House brings all the Time Lords to, voiced by Michael Sheen.
That's right, a great villain.
If you hadn't already seen her on the planet as like she's like one of those kind of people who are pieced together, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, like is it like uncle and
auntie or something, isn't it? Yeah.
If you hadn't actually already seen her prior to that, maybe if she'd like manifested as the TARDIS, you could say that she might be a
Time Lord.
Maybe not even that. Maybe it's like an imprint of like a Time Lord to come.
Yeah.
What they would look like.
Isn't he? The reason that they go there is because there's a distress signal.
There is a distress
from
signal.
Gallifrey.
Yeah.
Which is
Doesn't
great.
he open that, like, does he open a cupboard and there's just like all those distress speakers?
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, yeah, but
you hear some of them, don't you?
But it's still excuse me. It's still a great idea and a great concept.
Oh yeah. But it doesn't take anything away from
and having the TARDIS sort of manifest itself as a person, and that person being a woman, I think works really well. And I love the banter between her and the Doctor, and the flirting. And it's actually, I mean, considering she's playing
an inanimate object,
the ship, the TARDIS itself.
All right, he says the TARDIS is alive, but it is basically
it's alive in the sense that it's organic. They're like grown.
Yeah.
But it's alive in the same way that a plant's alive, but that doesn't mean that it has a personality.
No, yeah, a plant is still
a
plant.
But yeah, but it's quite moving and poignant actually, and because you know you think, you know, this is the TARDIS. He's been travelling around in this TARDIS for you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. So
the Flanter is kind of
Flanter's great.
Is very not Doctor Who, but it still works.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a lot of I could see what's his name? Sylvester McCoy getting angry about the amount of Flanter between these two.
Yeah.
But I thought again it worked really well, and I thought they were like there was bits where you're like, oh wow, this is getting a bit like it's not getting risque in terms of like life. It's getting risque for 7 o'clock on BBC One.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is great.
I think it's great. You know? I mean, it's not that risque. What, he calls her sexy a couple of times.
Exactly. Yeah. Sylvester McCoy would fucking hate.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. He'd be like, I can't be having that sort of saucy language.
Yeah.
On, 6 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, I thought again the relationship between them is quite a complex one, and for it to come off as well as it did, it's very well done.
Yeah, you're right, and I like that they make a very basic makeshift TARDIS console room out of all the TARDIS junk in the junkyard. I think that's I really like that. I really like seeing them flying in that.
Yeah, that was designed off a Blue Peter contest-winning design.
Really?
By a girl, a 12-year-old girl.
Oh, it's a nice, interesting bit of trivia there. Yeah. Well, it looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks it's actually a really quite a good console design, and what I liked about it is it harks back to the old TARDIS from Classic Who. Specifically the control room, the console room, because that really was just four walls.
It was,
and a central controlling station.
I love looking back at the old Doctor Who inside the TARDIS.
Yeah,
where it's so uncomplicated.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It is just a room.
Yeah.
It's got a console in it, but they were tiny in comparison to what they are now.
Absolutely.
And I love looking back at them, and then with this, it's like there's so many Easter eggs in that you could be here for ages. Having panels from like
the panels,
many different Doctors.
Yeah.
Again, just a 12-year-old came up with that. That's very impressive.
Really good. And written by Neil Gaiman, who wrote the Good Omens series.
Yeah.
Which itself features David Tennant and Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little connection there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doctor's Wife, banger. This is what I mean about this series. It's so wibbly wobbly, but it's got absolute bangers in it that are up there with amongst Doctor Who's best.
Speaking of bangers, that leads us to the next two-parter.
Yeah.
Which is Rebel Flesh.
Yeah.
And I think the Almost People. Which I think is a great two-parter.
Oh, another solid Base Under Siege two-part adventure. I mean, you don't that. I mean, that's this. See, this is what I this certainly the first half of this series. It's sort of following the template, which I like, and every series of New Who has a really good Base Under Siege two-parter, and this is the one for this series, and this is great. Again, the concept I think is very clever, and I think the performances in this are great as well. I really, really like the. I'm jumping ahead a bit to the end, but I really, really enjoy in this story how the Doctor shows Amy her own prejudices, without her realising, by switching with his ganger, and then she's obviously she's like very like weary of the ganger, and at one point I think she like shouts at him or something, or says that he's like
not actually the Doctor.
But she's just
you never will be kind of thing.
And then the Doctor reveals to her that they'd switched places, and that the Doctor that she thought was real and human and who she trusted was actually the ganger, and the Doctor who she was being discriminate towards was the actual Doctor. I really enjoy that.
It's such a poignant story. It's got a lot to say about society.
Yeah, it's very political.
It is, and compared to some of the quite recent episodes, not that I've seen too many. It's right on that line of it's politically charged, but it's not rammed down your throat.
Yeah.
This one I think is just it is one of the ones where I do remember the story, but watching it again only elevated it for me because of just how many details there are and just how good it is. It's very moving, especially you have the guy it's his son's birthday.
Yeah.
and he ends up, the actual human ends up dying, and the ganger has to take his place. I thought that was kind of, it's quite heart wrenching.
Yeah, and I like how at the end, the only two other than the ganger who you just said, who they drop off with the son. The two remaining survivors, one's a human, one's a ganger.
Yeah.
And they both together decide that they're going to,
tell the world,
take on the corporations or whatever.
that is exploiting them.
They've resolved their differences, their prejudices, and they're now teaming. That is a great example of how you can write social political commentary without shoving it in people's faces. It can be done in a very subtle way. Without saying to people, "You're racist. You're prejudiced." It's so because it does make you think. Oh yeah, I wonder if I was in that situation, how would I be prejudiced towards the gangers?
I know, yeah. And the whole, because initially in the episode I was just like, bloody gangers.
Yeah. Oh, they're just monsters.
They're plastic. Why do they want to live?
Why should they have rights?
And then obviously at the end, I'm like, I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just shut myself.
You take a long, hard look in the mirror and check your privilege because you're a human.
Oh yeah, mate. I need to fucking put myself in the bin. No,
That's right.
I honestly was just, you know how it is where you're just like, you don't know the. You don't really think about the implications, just as the other humans didn't really, because they're just like, well, they're not living, but they are, and over the course of the story, that is what is revealed, and so it's just a great two-parter, over 2 parts, which I think it needed to get the impact.
Yeah.
I feel like if they just did this in a 45 minutes, I don't think it would have been quite as good.
No, I agree.
So yeah, I'm glad that this was a 2-parter, and it's another good 2-parter from Doctor Who, written by Matthew Graham, who did Life on Mars.
Yes,
one of our favourites.
One of our other favourites
here at Two Reels Towers.
We will do the Life on Mars
and Ashes to Ashes
podcast. We should do that.
Yeah, okay.
We could do like one on Life on Mars and one on Ashes to Ashes.
I mean, they're only 2 series each, aren't they?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then we come to A Good Man Goes to War, which very much feels like a series finale, and in a way sort of is, because unfortunately, I think, to the detriment of the show, this started off this weird trend which continued throughout the Moffat era of having a mid-season break.
Yeah.
And a finale, which is really which just makes it even more complicated, because you've now got almost like 2 mini series in one. You've got the first half and the second half, A and B.
Well, I said this after the actual season finale.
Yeah.
I said, oh, there's only 1 episode.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there's only 1 episode for the season finale of this series. And I was taken aback a bit. I was just like, oh, that feels like it could have been more serious.
Well, we'd already had one.
That's true.
It was A Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah, and also the the first episode being a 2-parter. Again, like, it feels like it was. Well, it does taper into the finale, doesn't it? The first episode. But yeah, this felt like a blow off finale.
This episode. I mean, when you think that it couldn't get more complicated and confusing, than The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, along comes A Good Man Goes to War. I mean, there are things about this episode I like. I like the whole, like, Avengers, Suicide Squad teaming up of the gang thing. I think it's a real shame that Jack wasn't in it. Apparently they approached John Barrowman, but he wasn't available. But apparently he was due to be in it. But if he had been in it, it was him who was going to get beheaded by the headless monks, which then leads him to becoming the face of Bo.
Wow.
But if that had happened, we would never have seen him again as Jack. So I guess in a way it worked out well that he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice if, considering this is supposed to be like the Doctor's army, it would have been nice to have brought back some characters from the Rusty Davies era just to tie them in a bit more.
Yeah.
Like Jack, or other previous
Martha and Mickey.
allies. Yeah, Mickey, because he's in unit now. And, yeah, that kind of thing. But
So,
anyway, I like that. But then there's so many. There's so many questions. There's already questions, and now there's a bunch of new questions, and I'm like, and none of these questions get resolved, or the ones that do get resolved just open up more questions, and it's just I'm just like how did what's the name of the is it Madam no is it what's the name of the lizard woman who lives in Victorian London?
Madam Vastra.
Vastra. Yeah. What? So
who lives with Jenny?
Who is Madam Vastra? Why is she there? What has led her to be there? We've never met her before.
That's
until
true.
This episode.
I found that a little bit confusing. She's in a lot of Doctor Who
after that. Yeah. How did she meet Jenny? Where did that romance happen? And then also after this episode as well, I know that they're in the next time we see them, they're with Strax, but we don't actually see them and Strax like joining forces. So how did that happen? And then so that and then but that's just scraping that's just the tip
surface,
of the iceberg. I mean, but it's like, who's Madame Kavarian? Who is she? Where has she come from? Why does she want to kill the Doctor? I know that she says, the Doctor's like, why are you doing this? Because we're fighting a war. Well, who are you fighting a war against? You, Doctor. Okay, but why? Why is she so... What's her personal reason for being so desperately wanting to kill the Doctor? And, I'm guessing that army that works for her, they're the... are they the priests from Series 5?
Yeah.
Why are they involved?
I don't know.
Why are they
not the good guys in this like they were before?
How did they meet Madame Kavarian? How did she recruit them? Why did she recruit them? If she's got them, why
I feel like they're doing it on behalf of the Silence, though, aren't they?
Yeah, but again, who are the Silence? Where have they come from? What's their motivation? Why do they want to kill the Doctor? Why do they need to bother teaming up with a bunch of humans and a random eye patch woman?
Yeah.
Why do they need them? And then there's the headless monks. Why are they involved?
There was absolutely there's a convoluted reason which I think gets a mention, but doesn't make any sense.
What is it?
No, I can't remember.
Oh.
But they do say it in the episode of the reason why the headless monks are there. But it doesn't make any sense.
They're there to help.
Yeah, but why?
To assist.
Yeah,
but my question is why, and why? I feel like we didn't need the Silence are good monsters. I feel like we didn't really need anything else other than them as being like the main villain of the series, but they just feel like henchmen now, completely non-threatening henchmen, because we've got like the headless monks, we've got this like army who for some reason are all like really really into killing the Doctor, and then oh god, and I feel like my head's gonna explode. And then we've got the kidnapping of Amy and Rory's baby. Again, why? So, all right. So, I think at this point we can probably reveal or get onto the fact that their baby Melody Pond is River.
Yep.
Grows up to be River. So it's revealed that River is the person in the astronaut suit who shoots the Doctor at Lake Silencio. But why do they need her? This is what I was skirting around earlier. why do they need her to be in the astronaut suit and to come out of water and shoot the Doctor? Why do they need anyone? They want to kill the Doctor. Surely there are a thousand other ways that they could kill the Doctor.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think to myself, well, is it because she, you know, I try to just explain it to myself, and I think, well, is it because she's like a child of time, because she was conceived in the TARDIS whilst the TARDIS was mid flight in the vortex? That somehow makes her a Time Lord. All right, whatever, fuck it. You know, it's a bit schlocky, but I'll accept that. Okay.
See, I definitely don't think that they're trying to say she is a full-fledged Time Lord.
All right, but she can regenerate.
A child of the TARDIS is like,
she
as
has
far
the
as they
ability
go.
to regenerate.
Yeah.
But then that's not their reason for picking her. They don't say, oh, we've picked her because she can regenerate, or maybe another explanation I thought of was, oh, well, maybe there's this like unknown, unwritten law where only another Time Lord or another child of time can murder another Time Lord or something. But again, that's just something I made up. I remember I was in the shower the other day,
headcanon, you know,
and I was just thinking to myself, why does it need to be River who kills the Doctor? Why did Madame Kavarian kidnap the baby and turn it into an assassin? Why do they even need her? And I was trying to come up with all these various explanations in my head, which are all, in my opinion, better than what we actually got. But none of them are true. That's just me making up shit. So I don't get it.
This happens with a lot, and obviously we've said this before on other podcasts. I don't think that we've said it about Doctor Who. We've definitely said it about other properties, other things, where it's, if you have to make it up in your head, and you know, if you have to make it up in your head, the canon,
Yeah.
then the story that they were trying to tell fails.
Hasn't landed.
It's failed.
Yeah.
It's the same with like I don't know what were we talking about before. Mainly it's MCU stuff.
Yeah.
With stuff in the MCU, if in your head you're like, yeah, but maybe if this is because of this.
This is because of this.
But they haven't said that in the script.
No, I've just made that up.
Yeah.
To try and justify it.
Then it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Then whatever you've just watched, if you're having to make up your own headcanon, then it hasn't worked. And I feel like this is one of those where Doctor Who, you know, the majority of the time, is just a story, and you're just you're just following along, and they're telling you plot points and details. But with this series, I found myself trying to explain it to myself.
Yes, exactly.
I shouldn't have to explain it to myself. That's what the TV show's for.
I know.
I don't want to have to try and come up with something myself whilst watching it to try and get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have to go from point A to point B via point Q. You know, it's just too much. And having this mid-season finale,
Yeah.
already muddied by the first two episodes,
Yeah.
leaves you in just complete like shambles as to what is going to happen next.
Yeah.
And you know,
I mean, Steve, I love you, but fuck me. You know, give us a break. You know, just tell us something, anything. It's like I feel like Moffat is like an emotionally abusive, gaslighting boyfriend, and I'm his poor downtrodden bird. And he's constantly he's like telling me he loves me one day and then ghosting me the next day, and he's the fuck boy. but I love him.
oh,
He treats me like shit, but I love him.
Stephen Moffat is definitely the fuck boy of Doctor.
But yeah, he's but yeah, and you know, and a lot of people, you know, quite rightly criticise the twist about River's identity, and that it was a massive letdown, and it was very underwhelming, and it is. But that isn't even the big takeaway from this episode for me, because that is, for me, is overshadowed by the fact that I still don't understand why why the Order of the Silence, whatever they call themselves, needed Melody Pond to kill the Doctor. I don't understand that. I mean, again, like, another thing I thought about in the shower was, is it because they thought that if it was River, it's like more personal, then they could really I
feel like
that
might be the thing.
But they don't. But that again, that's us speculating.
But that like you said. But I feel
why not Amy herself?
That's true. I feel like they wanted to have Amy's daughter or that baby from birth to have her whole life to train her up.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Amy and Rory, it's like they do come when they already know the Doctor, and it's gonna be hard to kind of take them away.
Yeah, but making it River though, this was the conclusion I came to. I mean River's story at this point, despite the reveal of her true identity, was complicated enough as it is. I mean, yeah, we now know who she is, where she's come from, but we still don't know. She's still a mystery because of this constantly meeting the Doctor in a different order, and the fact that we know that she's met previous incarnations of him, and we know also that she's going to inevitably end up in the library with the 10th Doctor, and that's her last ever adventure.
Meeting,
yeah. So we know all this stuff. So then making her Melody Pond and the assassin and stuff, I feel like that's unnecessarily overly complicated. I mean, I just don't get it. But that's fuckboys for you.
I think for me, it's only adding layers on top of what was already so complicated.
Yeah.
That I was just like, okay, this is not necessary. I thought to myself when I was watching this on the rewatch, I thought we haven't even got to untangling those first two episodes.
Yeah.
So don't add more.
Yeah.
Bullshit on top.
It's like we've just begun to unpeel the various skin layers of the onion.
Yeah.
But now, just as we're getting somewhere, Moffat's gone and taken the onion and put it in a fucking orange peel and sellotape the orange peel around the onion. We've now got to unpeel the orange to get back to the onion to continue unpeeling the onion.
Yes. So it basically
wibbly wobbly timey wimey fucking oranges.
Yeah, so wibbly wobbly timey wimey onion oranges, and I just thought to myself, I'll just take it for what it is. I enjoyed the bits where the Doctor kind of like reveals himself, and then you had all the characters, and like I said, the TARDIS Space Avengers, and
yeah,
there was some really good bits in it.
Yeah. It was like a heist movie. Like we're gonna need inside man.
It's literally it's Strax, but the camera is like above his head, so you can't see his head, and then it's like pans down, and it's like no, he's down there. Like one of those like visual gags. Anyway, so I liked some of that stuff, and I do like how it tied to the previous episode, where the Doctor only went to the place with the rebel flesh. I don't know what you do. You just call them gangers, don't you?
Gangers,
So he went to the place with the gangers because he had to be sure that the Amy he was with was actually a ganger.
Yeah.
He was just like, had to go to the place to make sure that Amy was real and she's not. And then at the end of that episode, she like melts away, doesn't she?
Yeah, but when did that happen? Was Amy a ganger the whole time, or did that happen at some point in this series?
I see. I think it was probably before the start of the series.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that because it was a bit of a reveal that like some point down the line after the initial, because she stops traveling with him for a little bit.
Yeah.
So at some point, someone's replaced Amy with a ganger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay with that, because, I mean, again, it's Doctor Who, and, like, things happening off screen happen all the time. So it's not, like, anything new. I was just like, oh, that's quite a, you know, it ties in with that episode. You know, it was the whole reason why he went there. So I was like, oh, at least in this two-part story, he actually had a reason to come to this place.
Yeah.
So I was like, that makes a decent amount of sense for me to be okay. And then, I was like, okay, they've set it up like Amy's somewhere else, and she's actually giving birth now, and it tied into having the eye patch lady turn up in other episodes, you know, which was happening throughout the series, happening in the first, second, third, fourth episode.
Yes. Well, we got to see her.
Yeah. Which I was just like, okay, at least they're following up on it, and then, but yeah, the points you said where it was just like, why are they with the silence, and why are the clerics with the silence,
clerics,
and
yeah.
why are they with her,
and what? Who is she?
Yeah. Then so I was like, oh, I'm intrigued up until the point where the episode really started.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, holy shit, they really are just putting everything in there, aren't they? You know?
Yeah.
And then there's good points, but mostly it was just, it's like trying to untangle the biggest bowl of spaghetti.
Exactly.
You're just like,
exactly.
There's just so much. I can't. There's just too much.
Yeah.
And just too many plot points going all over the place. I was just like, I'll like the bits I like about the episode.
Yeah.
But it as an episode that continues the series, continues the story.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty rubbish.
Yeah.
And that is an episode before the title of the next episode is Let's Kill Hitler.
Oh, this fucking episode.
So, I mean, for me to be like, I didn't really like that episode much, and then be like, but the next episode is literally called Let's Kill Hitler. And it's quite notorious, isn't it, in Doctor Who circles?
I mean, it's this episode as well. It's like, I mean, all right. So they accidentally go back in time to, you know, Berlin in, you know, during World War II, and they accidentally save Hitler's life. Okay, that in itself I can get on board with, because that is like a separate story. Yeah. But that's like interwoven with this other plot about these like miniature people who take over the bodies of war criminals
to try and assassinate other war criminals,
and then punish them by like killing them or something.
I mean, I feel like they actually bring them on board the ship, don't they?
Yeah, and then kill them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then they've also got this. Oh god! And then we've got more. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more fucking complicated with River, we've got this other subplot about her, you know, being Mel's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which you quite rightly pointed out. And the more, and when I think about it, I think, yeah, that is probably mine as well.
Yeah.
Was your first ever sort of exposure to the James Cromwelling.
The James Cromwelling of
retroactive retconning
of Doctor Who. I feel like it was the first one of, like, Amy and Rory have been on the TARDIS for now a season and a half.
Yeah.
And you've never heard of their best friend, both of their best friends.
Yeah. We didn't see her at their wedding.
Wasn't at the wedding.
We didn't see her in the village in the 11th hour.
In any of the episodes where they go back
never mentioned.
And you're just like, right, so they've just shoehorned her in.
100% they've shoehorned her in.
The James Cromwelling of Doctor Who, of Mel's Melody Pond.
Yeah.
I mean, did they not know what her last name was? Did they never, you know, knowing them since they were children, did they never ask what their...
And why? Like, all right, I get that all right, so Moffat wanted River to be in this story and come along for the adventure, but why did they need to have the whole Mel's thing? What, just to show that River can regenerate? But we know that because we saw that little girl,
Yeah.
the little girl regenerate, and we know now that was her. So, I don't get it.
And also another question. I'm not sure if this gets answered. It probably does, and I just missed it. But so she regenerates when she's in 1969.
Yeah.
Like, how does she get to Ledworth 2010?
Yeah.
Or like like in the 90s when they were younger. How does she get there?
Well, I'm filling in the blanks for myself.
Exactly.
But I'm assuming that there must have been another couple of regenerations in that time. But she doesn't know. But she doesn't know who she is at that point. No. She doesn't know that she's. I don't think. Does she know that she's their daughter? You know, when she's Mel's, and then when she first regenerates into River, does she know that she's their daughter?
Oh no, she doesn't.
Well, then why would she go to Ledworth?
Yeah.
Why?
How did she get there?
And
why would she be there?
You know, unless she was just like compelled to go there through like a connection.
Again, it's just all.
But this is
all
us
made up head
filling
canon.
it in.
Yeah.
And then once she's regenerated into River, she's like immediately wants to kill the Doctor. It's like she has this impulse to kill him.
Yeah.
But
she has no interaction with the silence in between being Mel's.
Yeah.
And then.
But then we know for a fact that she then like goes to prison and then has a series of adventures that we've already seen, and then kills him at Lake Silencio. So if the silence, if the Order of the Silence's plan all along was to have her kill the Doctor at that specific point at Lake Silencio, why then does River, when she regenerates from Mel's, why does she then immediately kill the Doctor? Because she does kill him, doesn't she? She kisses him with the poison lipstick, which poisons him. And then she ends up saving him by using all her regenerations. Again, I'd never heard of that before, but whatever, fuck it.
Yeah.
But
just another throwaway line that is actually really important to the character.
Doesn't that fuck up the whole plan? The whole point of them kidnapping her and brainwashing her was for her to kill him at Lake Silencio at that fixed point. Why does she then immediately want to kill him
when they go to 1938?
When they're in 1938 Berlin? I don't understand that.
I feel like this is just, again, on reflection, quite a terrible episode.
It is. I think it's bad. It's the schlockiest of schlocky.
Yeah.
It's not even good.
It's not even slightly good.
Here's the Two Reels podcast first.
Oh no.
It's bad.
It's bad.
You know it.
Bad. Yeah, it's definitely bad.
I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And I don't know. There are bits of this episode I like. I like some of the dialogue. I like the sort of touching moments. Like it's another fake death. We know he's not going to die.
Yeah. It's another one in this series.
Oh, it's just like, and then he had this like emotional like monologue where he's like, "Oh, I can feel it. I'm dying."
Is that when
now.
He's wearing the top hat and
yeah.
tails?
I'm just like,
that's a bit weird.
You
don't have to fake me out again.
Yeah. I don't know. But the thing is I feel, at this point, at this point in the series, but also in this point in like the timeline of River Song, I'm just like, whatever. I'll give up now. Fuck it. You know, unfortunately, I really feel like Moffat shot himself in the foot with her character because, you know, Silence in the Library.
Yeah.
It's such a banger of an episode, and
Yep.
River's introduction is so good. It's so intriguing, and it leaves you desperately wanting more and wanting to know about her and who she is. And by the time we get to this episode, Let's Kill Hitler.
I mean, even Crasher the Byzantium and the 2-part cleric episode with the
Series
angels,
5, it's all right.
it even piques it even more.
Yeah.
Your interest.
Yeah.
And especially at that point, there's been no hint that River is the one that. There's no real hint that River's the one who's going to, quote unquote, kill the Doctor.
Yeah.
You know she's important to him, obviously, because they're framing it that way.
Well, yeah.
And but then once you get to this episode, I feel it's just like kind of killed it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Kind of killed the intrigue to certain degrees.
Yeah.
That you're just like, oh, okay.
Let's kill Hitler. More like let's kill the interest in River Song.
I mean, does give you a really ultimately schlocky but fantastic line for me personally, anyway. Which is the only kind of glimmer about it is that this is kind of a bit of a funny bit where she's like, well, I was on the way to this gay gypsy bar mitzvah for the disabled, and when I suddenly thought, gosh, the Third Reich is quite rubbish, so let's kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Or I think I'll go kill the Fuhrer. And when Kingston delivers the line, it's really funny. In an episode that it's just...
Yeah.
is just terrible. So I was like, oh, in other contexts, I'm sure that would have been really good. But yes, this episode it kind of breaks a lot of things. If I'm being honest,
it's yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not great, and it's a shame because what would have been good after A Good Man Goes to War at this point in the series would have been another Curse of the Black Spot, just a nice reliever episode, a nice sort of one-off. They should have put Night Terrors after A Good Man Goes to War, a nice one-off individual story that doesn't require too much, like hard thought, and because it's just and it, like I said, the whole format of this episode is all over the place. Like with being set in Berlin in the war and Hitler, and then Rivers there, and then the miniature people. I'm just like, fucking hell, just pick a narrative and go with one. Any one of the three is fine.
Yeah. Trying to do too much is kind of the modus operandi of this whole series, if I'm being honest. Yeah. The MO of this whole block is a bit like, we've got loads of ideas, but we're not sure whether to pull the trigger on just one or all of them,
But anyway, Night Terrors.
Night Terrors, written by Mark Gatiss, this one.
Yeah.
Can tell, because he's a massive fan of horror.
Yeah, he loves his horror, doesn't he? Yeah.
And, I've also watched, he did a BBC documentary series about horror films.
Oh, yeah.
Probably about, so it was probably about 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
I have it on YouTube. And, it's very much got all the hallmarks of a Mark Gatiss written episode of Doctor Who.
Yep.
I like this one.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's unremarkable.
Yeah.
But by no means is it poor.
No.
It's just it's a solid Doctor Who episode. It's got a monster of the week. It's got a scary sort of threatening situation. It's layered. I quite like the idea. I quite like the idea of the that sort of weird limbo place that they're trapped in is like the contents of that kid's toy cupboard.
Yeah.
So they're in the cupboard, and then you've got they're in the doll's house.
They are in the doll's house.
In the cupboard, and so the dolls in the toy dolls that are in the doll's house are the monster.
Yeah.
I like that. Again, bit of a schlocky ending. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he needs. You need to tell him that he's your boy and you love him. That's a bit schlocky.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid. Daniel May's a bit irritating, but then he's irritating in everything.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry, Daniel.
I was going to say he plays the
He plays the irritating Cockney in everything he's in.
yeah, and he also he basically plays. Doesn't he play the technically like the devil in
Oh yeah, in Ashes to
in what we're going to be
Ashes.
talking about soon?
Yeah.
Spoilers. Sorry, but yeah, Jim Keats he plays. Who surrogate for the devil. But yeah. So I was surprised to see him in it. I couldn't really remember him being in it, David Mace, but yeah, it's just a good episode. It's good, and I think it is good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
it's got bad bits. It's got good bits. It's very much a Doctor Who's episode.
He's written better.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
He's written better. I really like his Charles Dickens episode.
Oh yes.
I really like that one that with the. Do you remember that one with Clara where it's like underground and it's got like Victorian soldiers in it and it's got it's got a classic Who monster in it. I've forgotten their names now. Oh, anyway, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But anyway, he's written. Oh, and there's another one. He wrote the submarine one as well, which I think's really good.
Oh yes, yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
So he's written better.
Is that with the Ice?
The Ice Warriors. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
But no, this is it's decent. Night Terrors.
Moving on to The Girl Who Waited.
Oh, now this is another banger for me. This is up there with The Doctor's Wife.
A title that reflects the girl. Well, she is the girl who waited, isn't it?
She is, yeah.
Reflecting something that they have been calling Amy since day uno.
Yeah, every young fit female companion of the Doctor has to have some sort of big title.
Yeah, she has a title, universally known as.
What's it? Rose was the bad wolf girl.
Yeah.
Martha was the girl who walked the earth.
Yep.
Donna was the Dr. Donna. And then Amy's the girl who waited, and then Clara's the impossible girl.
Of course.
And then Bill is obviously a lesbian because she reminds people every single episode.
I mean, and then, it's not subtle either.
Yeah. And then Yaz is anyway, The Girl Who Waited.
So yeah,
it's a great episode.
Oh, it's a fantastic episode, and honestly, it starts off so unpronounced. Like it's very
understated.
It is very understated, and it's not like a bombastic opening to a story where they just land somewhere where they weren't supposed to land. You know, shocker. But yeah, they just go into a room.
Yeah.
And they just press a button, and then Amy just presses another button and goes into the same room. It's basically how it starts.
I mean, I absolutely love that. The great thing about this episode, and what it highlights, is that the smallest decision can have devastating consequences, and that when you're travelling around with the Doctor, just because there isn't like an immediate threat, or there isn't, explosions and laser battles and Daleks, doesn't mean that something can't go massively wrong.
Exactly.
If you're not sort of, I don't know, if you're not concentrating, or you just take your eye off the ball or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even that Amy wasn't concentrating. They just, I think Rory says press the button, and she just presses a different button to what they've pressed, and the consequences of that are she ends up alone for 40 years. Oh no, is it 40 years? Is it?
I think it's 30 years.
30 years. I mean, it's yeah. So the concept of this episode is brilliant. I really love the simplicity of that. You know, and it shows the effects as well, the negative effects of being a time traveler,
Yeah.
traveling around in a ship, in space and time with the Doctor, and ironically, it's one of the more sort of like it shows how dangerous that life can be, even if there isn't any sort of particular danger,
Yeah.
and how devastating.
You know, you're at more danger of ruining your life by pressing the wrong button
Yeah,
than running behind him or beside him when he's
Yeah.
facing off against the Daleks. You know,
yeah,
it's a mental proposition, isn't it? And this is you know, peak Doctor Who that we've seen in a few different episodes over the last series and a half, where I think the most compelling parts of these Doctor Who series is when there's simple decisions or there's primal fears.
yeah,
So it's, you know, my favourite ones are when there's primal fears, say for instance like the angels, you know, or are you my mummy, or you know, things like that, where it's very much, they're not complicated,
yeah,
they're just quite simple, but they can affect you in devastating ways. And then on the other hand, you've got simple decisions, or just really boiled down to the most basic points, which are, you know, already had it in this series with the gangers, where it's, you know, that was very much a, you know, a social political episode, and this one is like in a slightly similar vein, with a bit of a strand of the other one. It's like a bit of a mix of the two,
yeah,
where it's like one primal fear is like, you know, you make one in this, you make one wrong decision and 36 years of your life are gone.
Yeah.
And you're just by yourself the
by
whole
yourself literally completely alone on a strange planet.
time. Yeah.
And there's these little robot things walking around who are constantly
Trying to get you.
trying to kill you, but they don't even realize they're trying to kill you. They're trying to give her this cure thing that they don't realize is like poisonous or something.
And there's also the you know, when I talk about the decision, it's like, well, for Rory, you know, who's you know, quite central in this particular story.
Yeah,
Do you choose the person who waited, you know, because she
Yeah.
still is your wife,
yeah,
or do you choose your wife with all the potential time that other person has already lived, you know?
exactly. And you know, I think Karen Gillan's really good in this episode. I think
course.
she really gets to show off her acting chops and be more than, you know, just sort of like the damsel in distress, or giving Rory a bit of stick or whatever. Like when we see her as like the older Amy, obviously she's wearing like prosthetics, but it's also in her performance, like she feels older because of the way she's playing the acting, like her physicality. She's obviously a lot tougher, hardened. She's a good fighter now, but the way she walks, the way she speaks, the looks, it does look like she's like in a, you know, late 40s or whatever.
I don't think
50s
I think the prosthetics are pretty good, you know.
it's very subtle. It's just a few wrinkles, really, isn't it?
Yeah, just wrinkles, a bit of stuff on the face, and that was
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't feel they went OTT, and they could have gone like well over the top.
But when
Also could have used like
they don't
terrible
need to,
CGI,
because it's all in the performance.
yeah, and it was a good decision to use what they
Yeah,
did.
it's heartbreaking. It's devastating, and also it's another thing I like as well is it shows, you know, the Doctor's quite dark in this episode, even though his intentions are sort of good. I very much get the impression that he knew all along that there's no way the two of them
Could
exist, and that he was always. I think you can almost tell the moment he realizes what's happened. He knows in his head, we're gonna have to leave old Amy behind. There's no like. It's at that moment where. He literally puts Rory's hand onto the key, and he's like, "This you have to decide. You leave this at one. Stick with this Amy, or pick this Amy, but then the other Amy will die." I mean, how dark is that?
It is dark.
What a bastard! I mean, I love him. I love the 11th Doctor, but that's a real dark moment.
I feel like it's.
What a horrible thing for Rory to do.
Yeah, but also it's probably the only decision.
Oh, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have a choice in the matter.
No.
But yeah, I mean, but it's but I like that. I mean, they could have gone with a happy, it all works out in the end.
They could have literally just gone,
ending.
we'll drop you off.
Because she does say, I don't even want to come with you. I want to go travelling.
Yeah.
So they could have ended it with they drop her off and she's like, I'll see you around sometime. And she goes off in a spaceship and have her own adventures.
Yeah, like they do with some other characters.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Oh yeah, fucking hell! But no, I liked. It's devastating. Honestly, you watch that episode, and afterwards, I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
that was hard hitting.
Yeah, it was hard.
And this is Doctor Who we're talking about.
Yeah,
and
this is one episode prior, or 1 or 2 episodes prior that they were like, let's kill Hitler.
Yeah.
Schlocky as it can get. 2 episodes or an episode.
Yeah.
2 episodes later. Sorry.
So again, for me, this and the Doctor's wife really stand head and shoulders above the rest. Slight giveaway as to what my picks still going to be for the. But anyway, yeah.
What we got next? Closing time.
The God Complex.
Oh, sorry, I missed one.
Which I think is pretty good. I really like the concept. That seems to be a running theme of this series. I like the concept's really, really good. The execution is hit and miss. But yeah, I really like the whole.
Oh, I don't know how I forgot this. I quite like
the hotel it's like a hotel
in the 80s.
In the 80s, and it's a 1980s hotel, but it's on
a spaceship.
And there's all these various humans and non-humans there who have been picked out.
Yep.
And placed in this hotel, and there's a monster,
a minotaur.
Yeah, that's a bit monster of the week schlocky, isn't it? But I also really like the whole each one of them has a room.
Yeah.
And their greatest fear is in the room, and we get to see all these different what their different fears are, but we don't see what the Doctor sees, which I really like. His is room number 11.
Nice.
And I think he just opens the door, and doesn't he say, of course it would be you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then
of course it would be. And then just closes the door.
Yeah. And you're like, what did he see? Who did he see? I reckon it's gonna be like him. It's like himself. Something deep like that. It's like
the Dream Lord again. That's what it should have been.
No, not the. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Toby Jones.
The Dream Lord. Yeah, the Dream Lord is him though, isn't it? But yeah, what could it? All right, let's.
Do you know who it actually is inside the room?
Oh, do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Well, because I mean,
you can
work
on the internet.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, who is it?
It's Chris Chibnall. Just like...
Yes, it's fucking Chibs. Of course, it's Chibs.
I feel like someone needs to do an edit.
I was going to say, what do you think it is, or what would you make it? Yeah. But
his worst fear.
Christian, no. Oh fuck yeah, wokeness. Yeah.
See, I like the episode again. I feel like you hit the nail. It's like the execution at the end, where it's like they're on an alien ship, and this doesn't it like fuel the ship or something? Their fear. I don't know what was the outcome.
the Minotaur dies. That's all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then
because he's been doing it for so long,
the
hasn't
hotel like evaporates.
Yeah.
They're in like the Tron world.
he? Yeah.
And the Minotaur.
They're in Tron.
They're in
and
Tron.
they meet Jeff Bridges.
and there's a Minotaur there, and yeah, Jeff Bridges rolls up on one of them bikes.
Yeah, and he goes, "Let's do it for the users." And you know, I don't know.
Yeah. And then David Williams is there. Like, I'm a lady.
Yeah, no.
I'm a lady alien.
Oh.
No, I liked David Williams. I liked his.
I thought it was good in this.
I really like. I really like his. I really like that race.
Yeah.
That they're
So subservient.
They're subservient, and oh yes, we got invaded by them. That was a nice day.
A race of cowardly aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, again, do you know what? It's my thoughts on this are it's a bit like Night Terrors. It's not a bad episode, but it's unremarkable. It doesn't. It's not a standout. It's just a solid, decent Doctor Who episode. You know, it's a sit down and sort of switch your brain off and just sit down and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it had some good kind of references. The hotel is very The Shining.
Yeah, I like that.
I like its aesthetic. I like the concept. Again, it's just one that just towards the end, I think it just kind of it was just like we need to end this on a Doctor Who note.
Yeah, it went off the
reservation.
It went off the rails a bit, didn't it? I also liked Rita, the character of Rita.
Would have been a great companion.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Another one-off guest companion who would have been great. As a regular companion. I think Rita. It's a shame that they didn't bring her back, or that they, I think she got killed off in the end, but
she did, yeah.
But yeah, Rita was good. She was a highlight. I think. But anyway, yeah. Then it's closing time.
Then it is closing time.
Indeed.
Is this better or is this worse than the initial James Corden episode, which was in season 5?
Oh, it's worse.
I mean, I didn't particularly mind the other episode. We liked it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I really liked The Lodger.
That's it. The Lodger.
This I mean, it's a nice to have a sort of sequel to The Lodger, which is what this feels like.
Yeah.
A random sequel to another episode. And like I said in The Lodger, I don't actually mind James Corden as Craig. I don't mind Craig as a character. I quite like him, and I like his banter and his relationship with Matt Smith. But I mean, this story is a bit. Do you know what this story? It's very Russell T Davies-y. It's like they're in a department store, and the Cybermen are like underneath the department store.
I mean, it's got all elements of stuff that have already happened in Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
Episodes. That's why it feels Russell T Davies-y.
It really does. It's like Russell slipped. It's like this was originally written for his era, and then just slipped in here.
You know, like we used to say in the old podcasts about how Russell T Davies having like a mood board with post-its, and he would just take like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It's like Stephen Moffat, unfortunately, got a glimpse of everything that was on there.
We'll bring back Craig.
Yeah.
We'll set it in a shopping centre,
department store, just like in Rose. Rose.
Right, we need to bring back. What villain can we use? Fuck it, the Cybermen. And I know. Let's create a little cyber rat thing.
Cyber rat. Yeah.
Yeah, not great.
No.
If I'm being honest. And again, the resolution in this is like love.
Oh yeah.
But whereas in The Lodger, I think it's quite sweet, where he's like, he says, like, he declares his love for Sophie. In this one, I just think it's cringe.
Yeah, it is cringe. Yeah, because he basically gets transformed into a Cyberman.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't take because of love.
A not so slim Cyberman.
Oh, no, I don't know about that, yeah. Because when I was watching it, and like they've got him by the arms and they're putting him in, I'm like, there's no way he's getting in that way.
Sorry,
There's no way
I'm being the sizest. Or
No,
whatever,
I mean, I was thinking it, and I'm probably.
How's he gonna fit into a Cyberman
I was
suit?
exactly. I mean, I'm probably about the same size as James Corden. I'd be like, they'd have hard time getting me in there.
Oh, anyway.
But you know, it wasn't as good. The Lodger's better, and I feel like they were just trying to follow up.
Yeah,
You know?
it's a sequel that's not as good as the original film. You know what I mean?
You know, yeah.
I'll tell you what though. Tell you what that it's reminded me of. Why I don't know, but in the second part of this series, part B, if you want, I think starting from Let's Kill Hitler onwards. Matt Smith's Doctor, the 11th Doctor, has a costume change. And he stops wearing the tweed jacket and he starts wearing this sort of long brown coat. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't know.
Well, I did, and I really, really like it.
Nice.
I think he looks much better. As I don't, I don't get me wrong. I really like the tweed jacket, but I think that the long coat over the top of his bow tie and braces and that, I just think it looks. Look, I think there's a picture of it there. Can you see it?
Yeah, got
It's
you.
like
Yeah.
a long sort of greenish, brownish coat.
Yeah.
I really like it. It shows one thing I like about Matt Smith's Doctor is, I don't know if we've said this before, but I'm sure we'll say it in the next one, is that he really, really captures that whole old man in a young man's body vibe.
Oh, 100%.
Even though he's goofy and childish, he's much, much better.
Which is exactly how
The Doctor
an
should-
old man in a young man's body would act.
be.
You know?
But you can really like when other doctors say that how old they are and I'm 900 years old or whatever, you're like, but with Matt Smith when he says I'm 1,000 years old, you really sort of feel that, I believe it with him, and I think this new look, this costume change with the long scruffy coat, really encapsulates that. He really does look like an old man who is suddenly in a young man's body.
Yeah.
It's like Lazarus when Lazarus goes into that machine and comes out a young man again.
Yeah.
But he's all like, "Oh, what's going on in the world?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm young again. It's like that kind of feel.
Very, very, very close to that. Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because you don't often get that, especially in New Who.
Doctor Hugh.
I mean, the tweed jacket was like a massive part of his costume. As obviously with the bow tie.
Yeah.
So the fact that they took a risk and changed it into a more sort of blander coat. I guess that shows how confident they are in him, because he's still got his bow tie, but at this point we're so like on board with the 11th Doctor, we don't really need him to have a quirky outfit like a fez and a tweed jacket anymore. He's just, the only sort of thing about his outfit now is the bow tie. Other than that, it's pretty bog standard. But I don't think it needs to be at this point. But anyway, that sort of boring vignette aside, we come on to
absolutely no.
Welcome to the
no helpful transition.
The Two Reels costume podcast, where I take you on a boring journey about clothes.
On the rails, 2 Reels.
Yeah, the rails, sir. Great title.
The Wedding of River Song is the one-part finale.
Yeah, the second finale of the series.
I'd probably say third.
The third, yeah.
The first episode is kind of
the finale.
Is on par with some finales.
You're right. Day of the Moon was the first finale of the series, and then Good Man Goes to War was the second finale, and now we've got the Wedding of River Song.
They've shot the gun too many times for me to be.
That's right.
To be like, Oh, it's big and epic.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've got anything left in the tank. The amount they've shot their
Well,
load.
no, they
away.
definitely have got loads more in the tank because they've got so many plot threads
Oh god,
that
yeah.
not a lot of them really get resolved.
Oh god, again with the when you think it couldn't get any more convoluted,
Wibbly wobbly.
you get the Wedding a River song, which kind of sums up this series perfectly in one single finale episode, I think. I mean, I sort of get it. It's like, I think if memory serves, River's in the astronaut suit, and for some reason, I can't remember why, she suddenly changes her mind. She's like, actually, I'm not going to kill you. Because, yeah, why the fuck wouldn't she do that? Which again begs the question, why do they need it to be River? But she's like, actually, no, I'm not going to shoot you. Changed my mind. And then he's like, no, you have to. And she's like, nah, mate. And then because of that, time stops at that exact, that's like 5:30.
5:02.
5:02 or whatever. And that is why in this weird sort of alternate reality, you've got like fucking pterodactyls and Winston Churchill is the prime minister and the fucking...
Yeah, so it collides all of time and space and history.
Yeah.
Well, time, space, history. Time and space.
But again, the whole thing the whole thing about that is, the reason that's happened is because him getting shot at Lake Silencio is a fixed point in time and cannot be changed. And because Rivers changed it, this is the consequence of that. But it's not a fixed point in time because we know he doesn't die.
And also they get out of it.
Well, of course they get out of it.
Because I'm just like, well, yeah, it's a fixed point, but it's not. Because
so how come that didn't happen when, you know, the 10th Doctor saved that family in the fires of Pompeii? He said it himself, that it's a fixed point in time. I can't interfere. If I do, it will fuck up everything. How come that didn't happen then? How come it hasn't happened in the, what was it, in the 50 years of Doctor Who previously, whenever the Doctors interfered in a fixed point of time?
Because
Moffat!
Because fuckboy Moffat's at the wheel, so it's just goes a bit more wobbly than usual.
Oh god. Oh, what else? Oh, is it? Oh no, I'm thinking of something. But River's there, and she's. What is she? Oh, she's. No. Amy and Rory are part of some. They've got eye patches now.
Yeah, they're part of like, I don't know,
some sort of army.
Yeah.
And Madame Kavarian's there again.
And then they go to a pyramid.
They're on a train that goes into a pyramid.
Area 52, it's called.
Area 52, which is a pyramid, and River's there, and everyone's just like, "Oh, you're right," and they're like, "Yeah," and they're all like, "Oh,
right.
what's going on?" And and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, these eye patches mean absolutely nothing. We can just take them off." Oh no, they wear the eye patches so they can see the silence.
Yeah, it's a hard drive.
They can remember the silence. That's it. Yeah. So we've got an explanation for why Madame Kavarian wears an eye patch, but we still don't know who the fuck she is, or what she wants, or why she wants to kill the Doctor, or how she's there, or how she got involved with the silence, or how she got involved with the Headless Monks, or how she got involved with the clerics, or I've run out of breath.
And that's not half the questions.
That's not even the beginning. Yeah, get in touch. Instagram us, Two Reels Podcast. If anyone has any fucking clue what is going on in this episode, please do let us know.
Yep. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Two Reels Podcast. Give us a shout.
Let us know, please. I'm begging you.
Yeah, wow, yeah. The whole beginning of that is like such a... Is A, quite interesting on one hand, but B, such a internal clusterfuck that I just...
Internal clusterfuck.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
like
it's
that.
just not... It's like, yeah, all time and space has collided because of one thing.
Yeah.
And everything's now happening at the same time. I'm like, that is just, okay, interesting, but also I don't No.
Listen to this. This is the IMDb plot summary of this episode.
Right.
It's April 22nd, 2011, the day the Doctor is supposed to die. Well, we know that's not true. But time seems to be stuck at 5:02 p.m. London streets are clogged not only with automobiles, but also Roman chariots. Pterodactyls fly in the sky. The Holy Roman Emperor Winston Churchill calls on a prisoner to explain what is happening. In fact, all time seems to be occurring all at once. The Doctor determines that a fixed point in time has been altered or prevented from occurring. That fixed point is his own death at Lake Silencio, where history records that River Song killed him. We know that doesn't happen. Of course, not all is as it seems, particularly as it relates to the Doctor himself.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
What? That's absolute tip-top peak Moffat.
I can imagine Moffat reading that out in the writer's room at BBC HQ, and him being like, you know, right, get to work, bring me your ideas. That's my really good Scottish accent. And they're all just sitting around like, what?
What?
Huh?
Huh? Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just, yeah. As if you haven't added too much to the recipe of this series already. That synopsis kind of just breaks down my brain.
Right?
You know, just after all we've talked about, for this whole entire series of the questions. Because in this, they're like, the question, the oldest question.
Yeah.
I'm like, you haven't even answered the other questions, you know. It just kind of, it just breaks my brain a lot.
Yeah.
A bit.
I think, I do think this episode, and I do watch a lot of YouTube videos about Doctor Who, because I am a dork. But this episode is responsible for a lot of people sort of turning their back on Doctor Who, and I think this episode's also sort of cited as an example of ultimate confusion and Moffatness.
Yeah, Moffatness.
Because it is
to
really,
the extreme.
I mean, you said it. This episode is a complete and utter clusterfuck of ideas. And and it's like after all that, right? After all that, the ultimate solution is, it's not really the Doctor. It's a robot of the Doctor, and the little people are inside his head. And he whispers in her eye, "Look into my eye." In her ear, rather, not in her eye.
Doesn't he start to regenerate though?
Yeah, when she.
Well, how is that possible if it was just a robot?
No, because
another question.
God, I'm trying to because when we saw him start to regenerate in the first episode, and then she shoots him again, that now hasn't happened.
Oh, right,
because she refused to shoot him, and he's like, we've got a touch in order to reset time. Okay, whatever. What the? All right, fine, whatever. And then they touch, but. Because it's not him, it's the robot. Somehow that not only fixes everything, but it means that he doesn't die.
I feel like this is just too much, man. I mean,
my head.
Doctor Who, right, is always going to be a bit of a mind fuckery in terms of sci-fi.
Yeah.
TV shows.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes you're able to just unpack the bits that you need to make it work. Not everything has to make sense.
True.
But when it's just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of just so much bullshit.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to defend it, even as much of a fan as we are.
Right.
And do you know what? Like, especially after coming off season 5, which was like just really great episodes. Yes, the Pandorica was really kind of a little bit wibbly wobbly, even for a finale. This one was just like, when it got to the end, I was actually thankful it was over.
Yeah.
which is pretty much even watching David Tennant's episodes, coming more and more to the realization that his character is a complete sociopath.
Yeah.
Even then, I could still watch it
Yeah.
because I still want to know what happens. I still want to know more about these characters. Even the side characters, I'm like, I'll just watch it for them and, you know, how they're reacting to the story or the commentary of what the story is trying to say, you know? It doesn't have to all just be about the Doctor.
Yes.
But with this series, it was nigh on impossible to keep track. It was nigh on impossible to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's a shame because, you know, Series 5 was such a high and so good. And in my opinion, the best, most consistently good series of Doctor Who that New Who has produced so far and probably ever will. So, yeah, it's a shame. I don't know what to say. I really like the bit at the end where Dorian says, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I like that bit. That gives me goosebumps. That
Yeah,
bit.
same, yeah.
On the fields of Trenzalore at the fall of the 11th, a question will be asked.
It's just such a
Doctor Who.
It's just such an epic setup for like the next chapter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, thank fuck they closed the last chapter because that was just confusing as shit.
I like that.
Yeah. Best thing about it.
You know, it's a shame he's wearing a fucking Stenson in that scene, but, you know, if you have to hark back to the, like, why? But apart from the cowboy hat, I really like that bit. Doctor Who. Anyway,
Righty-ho.
let's do our best and worst episodes. That's my Dorian impression. Follow me on Instagram, Harry Harding Actor, for more great impressions and accents. All right. Let's.
You can go first.
yeah.
Best.
I'll try and-
shall we say favourite, then best, then worst? I think that's how it goes.
Favourite, best, worst,
worst.
and an honourable mention.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm just
favourite
gonna.
first.
Yeah, I'm just gonna whiz through these because.
Yeah. Time.
Time is of the essence. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Right, so yeah, so my favourite episode is well, the Christmas specials don't count, do they?
Or do they?
Well, we've never counted them before.
It's up to you.
It
It is in this series.
I don't think we've counted them. Well, all right. Well, my favourite episode's The Girl Who Waited.
Right.
I also think that's the best. So that's
Two birds, one stone.
Two birds, one stone. There. I think the worst episode is Let's Kill Hitler.
Yep.
For all the reasons we said, and my honourable mention
Yeah.
is for The Curse of the Black Spot.
Right.
And the reason I'm giving this an honourable mention is because I happen to know the bloke who wrote it.
Okay. Oh, okay.
He's sort of a mate of mine, so awkward. But so
is he going to listen to this and be like,
I highly doubt. I did tell him about it.
oh no.
I told him I highly doubt. He's a very busy man. He's writing a lot of things at the moment, so I highly doubt he's going to have time to listen to our
Sorry, Stephen.
podcast. But yeah, so Curse of the Black Spot. Just because
I think it's pronounced Splo.
just because it's written by my mate.
Nice little tortured reference there for you, mate.
So that's me done. Over to you.
Yeah. Favourite, gonna go for the Doctor's Wife.
Yeah, nice.
Best, I'm gonna go for the Girl Who Waited.
Yeah.
Worst, I'm gonna go with Let's Kill Hitler / The Wedding of River Song.
Yeah.
I know that's not one episode, but I make the rules.
They have similar gripes.
They have intrinsically linked gripes.
Yeah.
And the honourable mention goes to the Rebel Flesh, the Almost People.
Nice. Yeah.
The two-parter, one special, but one story. Sorry. Yeah, it's just there are fantastic bits in this series, isn't there?
Yeah.
I feel like we've been so negative towards the end.
Yeah, we have, but then again, we were so overly positive about Series 5. It's good to bring ourselves back down to earth.
Back down to where we
Yeah,
usually
we're our
dwell,
best.
right in the negative. No,
We haven't done our ratings yet. What about so?
so for the series overall, okay.
Yeah.
So
We got to do the traditional, the schlockiest monster.
yeah. So yeah, let's go for maybe out of 5 space minotaurs.
Yeah. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Is that what the
called.
actual race?
No, it's not.
Space Minotaur.
It's not called that. I can't remember what they're called.
The creature. It's just listed as the creature.
Yeah.
But yeah, Space Minotaur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So, yeah, I'll let you go first for the series overhaul out of 5 space minotaurs.
Okay.
It'd be really good if I knew what I gave the last series.
Well, I think
Did we give it 4s and 4.5s?
No, I gave it a 5.
Okay, so I definitely gave it a 4.
I can't remember what you gave it.
That's fine. At least I know the ballpark.
It was very high.
I know the ballpark. So
we gave high ratings to Series 5 and Series 4 and Series 1.
Yes.
And then we gave very middle ratings to Series 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Series 6 a very generous, very biased 4 Space Minotaurs out of 5. Because I mean, like with Series 2 and 3, I do think this series is very hot and cold. It's very sort of, it's not as good as 1, 4 and 5. But I love the Moffat era. I love Matt Smith. And this series does have some absolute bangers. Like The Girl Who Waited, I know we've already mentioned it, but The Girl Who Waited is in my like top 10 favourite episodes of Doctor Who ever.
Nice.
Well, maybe New Who. Which maybe we should do another podcast on that separately, like our top 10 favourite episodes.
What, like of New Who?
Yeah, like overall.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah.
So this series by no means is bad, but and I do admit that I'm probably being a bit over generous and biased because of my affection for this era, but it probably doesn't really deserve a 4, but that's what I'm giving it.
And I'm just gonna go slightly lower and go for 3.5.
Yeah.
Space Minotaurs out of 5.
That's probably more accurate.
I was in 2 minds to give it a 4, like yourself, where you can see the good and you can try and wade through the bad. But unfortunately, just the setup in the first 2 episodes, the mid-season finale, the mid-season opener, and the finale were all pretty terrible.
Yes.
from pretty terrible to actually like really bad. So for me to give it any more than a 3.5, I think would have been a bit too much for me, I think. The same points. There were so many missed opportunities and loads of plot threads which didn't go anywhere or weren't explained or just didn't make sense, or I don't know, just a lot that just didn't really come to anything. But yeah, the picked up by, and held aloft by the episodes we've mentioned as our best favourite or honourable mentions, really. you know, and that's more of a Doctor Who season for you.
Yeah.
Up and down, all over the place.
Yeah.
Whereas 5, I think, has been a bit of a golden nugget where it's you know, it's uncharacteristically all great, good to great. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then it's like coming straight back down to earth with an all over the gaff series 6. One that is just so hard to digest when 4 of the episodes are like finales.
Yeah.
And they're all shit. So it's like,
I mean 6 is notorious for being that series that is like really complicated and confusing for a lot of people, and for good reason. But you know, no matter how much Moffat you know, fucks with our heads and fucks with our minds and confuses us, we're gonna keep going back to him time and time again because I love him. I just love him. You know, I just can't live without him. I know, I'm stupid, I know, but I just love him. I love him.